Hafide, welcome to Marianas Press. We are at the CNMI legislature, joined now with Senate President Dennis Mendiola, who today, big news from your office. You introduced a legislative initiative to amend Article 11, Section 6 of the Constitution to provide direct monetary dividends to registered voters who are of Northern Marianas descent.
Absolutely.
So your press release described it as landmark. I think many would agree it is a big move. And so in your words, tell us what you're proposing.
So simply to just kind of do a constitutional amendment to allow for this dividend to go out directly to our NMDs. In the past, we've talked a lot about NMDs, and there hasn't really been a direct dividends to our NMDs when we're talking about the Constitution and protecting our NMDs in the land. So I think this initiative will just kind of open that discussion and maybe start pushing the legislators and the executive branch towards trying to find those direct benefit to our NMDs. So that's the intent behind this.
Why now?
We're struggling economically. We keep talking about the economy and how everybody's suffering. So in the past, we've reached out to MPLT to borrow funds for operational use. And although we generate revenue, by the interest through those loans, I think this is another way of trying to stimulate the economy by providing direct dividends to our NMDs, and hopefully we can, these people will spend money in the CNMI. It goes out to all the businesses, and in turn we collect them through taxations.
And I know part of the a proposal, it's fresh, and I know it was stated you want to also generate discussion and get genuine public input, right?
Absolutely,
public
absolutely. So this is not just something that I'm just pushing. This is one of the things that's going to happen here. Is I'm going to push this to the committee and allow them to do public hearings, just so we can see what the public sentiment on this. At the end of the day, it's the community that's going to vote on this, and it's going to be up to the community if they want this to to materialize, especially those NMDs. So this move is really just to allow them to speak on on their behalf in terms of the MPLT corpus.
And I know you describe a little bit of it. You're saying it's going to create a dividend program, which would allow for the initial distribution of 30 to 50 million from MPLT corpus, followed by every 10 years. And so what's the thinking there and that timeline?
So when we were looking at this initiative, we were thinking about how do we return the investment back in, right? Because we don't want to just keep opening it up and just keep paying out and then just deplete the funding. So when you look at some of the revenue that they generate, we're looking at roughly 3 to 3.5 million a year, right? And if you multiply that by 10, you get that 30 million back, right? So that's kind of the intent behind that, is to make sure that we continue to replenish that fund and continue to give it out to our people. Again, one of the things is that if MPLT invests aggressively, we may be able to get more than 3.5 million a year, or So again, it still has to go to the committee for us to kind of look at all these numbers and actually get the exact details on this. So a lot of these are just based on analysis that we're able to get, but getting into the specifics will require a little bit more of a team effort.
And what's the idea behind the two requirements there, NMD and a registered voter?
Yeah. So I mean, because people are going to vote on it, right? It's going to force NMDs to come out and register to vote, and I'm sure that we'll get a bigger voter turnout, just because again this deals directly with our voters, NMDs specifically. So that's the intent behind that. I think we can get a fair and transparent outcome if it's voted on versus just kind of pushing it down through the people.
All right, and We're going to take a little bit of a throwback to civics class here because it is a constitutional amendment. It's starting out as a Senate legislative initiative. So what's the path? Where does it go? Where do the people input, and how does it get voted on? And
So we're in the initial phase, right? This is just a proposed legislative initiative, right, to amend the Constitution. So it's going to go to the committee. The committee is going to deliberate on it, and if we garner the support, because the committee is going to do public hearings, if we get the support and we clean up some of this initiative, get the facts, the details, and everything cleaned up, and everybody agrees on it, then we can push it to the body to vote on it. Then of course you still need to garner the House side, right? I believe it's 3/4 of both houses, and then from there it has to go to election commission to put it on the ballot, where then people will come out and vote. But before that happens, of course, they still have to do public hearing or public education on what can happen, what's going to happen, and what to expect.
And once we posted this news, it's already been shared more than 100 times. There's more than 24 comments. I wanted to bring some of the comments into this interview. Lucy Blanco Maritita and others have said here, and I'm asking you to respond to the ideas, right? Okay. Not necessarily the person. But quote, not the best investment for our people, one and done, period, nothing more. Better create programs for sustainability. Sure. So what about the sustainability part? Can you address that?
Sure. I mean, of course, again, this is an initiative, right? It's a proposed initiative. So, it's not a one and done, because we're proposing every 10 years where we're proposing to, replenish these funds through the collections, right? Through the investment, and collect and do a collection for the next 10 years, then redistribute it out to the people. Of course, it's an initiative. Of course, it's going to generate a lot of attention. Again, it's just a proposed initiative that is going to go to the people. It's not, it's not for me to tell our people that this should be more of just, where everybody's struggling, everybody's suffering, and we're looking for ways to try and help people, bring funds and monies directly to their homes. So yeah.
So you believe it won't bankrupt the CNMI? That's another comment that we got.
No, not at all. I mean, if we ensure that we put a provision that monitors that and makes sure that we don't go below a certain point, then there's no way for us to bankrupt something that is lawfully protected. But again, that's still a discussion that needs to be made, right?
All right. And can you also share with us, I think everyone's going to start trying to do the math, right? Because they're wondering how much, maybe if you're on NMD watching, how much does that mean for me, at least for this initial batch? So we don't have the official number, right, of NMD and registered voters.
There's none. If I was just to throw out a rough estimate, you're looking at anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. But again, that's a rough estimate. I can't be certain. Again, after everything is done, then we would go back to, if the people votes this in, then we would go back to to create the legislation that will provide MPLT to distribute these funds, and that's where we define, what's exactly going to be distributed based on what's available and what's there.
Of course, another comment we got on Instagram was, this viewer was kind of predicting that this is going to open us up to some lawsuits, saying it's discriminatory. What's your take on that, and how does the covenant play into all of this?
Well, that's the thing, Tomas. If we keep talking about the covenant and the protection of NMD, where is this line? I refuse to just sit here and just keep worrying about these probable litigations, from discriminatory issues. The covenants clearly, or the Constitution clearly spells out NMDs, right? So that's my intent. Thereafter, if just like the stable token, if it goes to court, maybe we can get a clear answer, and once and for all, this discussion can be no longer made if that's the case, or otherwise, it'll draw a clear definition of how we can actually protect our indigenous people, right?
All right, Senate President, that's all the questions I had. I know it was just announced today, and there is, I think, what will be kind of a long road ahead, right? With all the public input, it is a constitutional amendment. So, any last closing message to the public watching?
Thank you again. Thank you for this opportunity. I'd say that this is a proposed initiative, right, to do a constitutional amendment. It's not final. It's not it's definitely not a guarantee that it's going to pass, but one of the things that we want to do here as legislators is just keep trying to make it better for our people. And I'm not going to just keep sitting here and just keep not doing anything about this situation. And if I can help our people through this, then I surely will. So that's the intent, and I'm standing by it. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much.